Peace and love. This is Brother Faheem, and you are now tuned in to the Lead with Logic podcast. Hold on. You know the vibes. I'm tripping. Peace, and love, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Lead with Logic, and I am your gracious and always humble host, Brother Faheem. Man, life always moves at an ultramagnetic pace. I try to keep my boots laced so I can win the race, y'all. Man, wherever you are, I appreciate y'all tuning in. If you're on Facebook, repost this out on your page. If you're on YouTube, repost it, send a link to somebody. And if you are on Twitter, repost, retweet, and get all the people in here. So thank you. Man, so much going on. Y'all. As of late, the main the topic at hand that seems to be on everybody's in everybody's conversation is the assassination attempt of the former president, the presidential candidate for 2024, 2025, Donald Trump. I know you guys probably saw, at least heard about everything that's going on with Mr. Trump. And so, man, I wanted to speak about that today in a little bit of depth and show you guys a little bit of footage that they have put out there for everything that's going on and everything that it's been said. Now, a thing that I don't think people understand is, we've seen this before, right? When President Obama was in office, right? I can remember there were two instances that the security was breached with the president. Number one, it was somebody made it into as far as the Oval Office, right? I don't know if you guys remember that. Somebody made it as far as the Oval Office. They got in there, right? They breached they were able to walk right on into the White House. That was crazy, right? I remember thinking, dang, they don't have no better security than that. And then a couple actually documented where they went to this gala, they went to this dinner that was held at the White House. And I mean, they went in and, they were able to get seated. They were able to engage with all of these high officials, these high government officials. And they eventually saw that they weren't supposed to be there. But again, by that time, security had already been breached. And so I say that to say, man, it needs to be a little bit better security. Security needs to be tightened up, because you would think the highest position in any land would be sacred, and it would be sacred enough that people would say, listen, we have to make sure we guard this. The goose that lays the golden egg can never be this exposed, because if they are exposed and something happens, then we are all in trouble. And it's really unfortunate, but what I'm gonna do is I am going to let you guys listen to what some news outlets are saying about it. I'm gonna pull it up so that you guys can check it out with me. If you're listening on fan base, wherever you are, you'll be able to hear it as well. And I'm tripping. I forgot about my fan base family. If you're on fan base listening, thank you. Stay tuned in. I'm glad you are listening. But yes, so let me pull up this clip for you guys so that you can hear exactly what is being said about Mr. Trump and the unfortunate events that transpired on Saturday. Yeah, it is something else. So let's get into this. Let's get into it. And so this is from an outlet in Minneapolis, St. Paul. They did a little bit of, they spoke on what happened, and they kind of gave a breakdown. So you can listen up.
You ready? We're good. Shooter's down. Are we good to move? Let's go. Let's go. We're clear. Come on. Let me get my shoes. I got you, sir. Let me get my shoes, sir. Hold up, you're ready. So we gotta go to the class. Watch out. Wait.
Now, that video showing the moment Trump hit the ground after multiple shots were fired. Of course, you saw and heard the chaos that followed as well. Secret Service agents quickly escorted the former president off the stage. And that is our top story tonight. I'm Karen Scullen.
And I'm Kelsey Carlson. The Secret Service confirming that one spectator was killed this afternoon. 2 spectators were critically wounded. The suspected gunman is dead. And officials in Pennsylvania saying the Secret Service shot that gunman. Our coverage of today's incident continues with Fox 9's Paul Bloom. He's joining us from the newsroom with the very latest on this investigation. And all of this is being updated really every few minutes, Paul.
Kelsey and Karen, good evening to both of you. It was a shocking scene that played out in Butler, Pennsylvania at approximately 5:15 Central Time this evening, so not even 4 hours ago now. A Trump campaign rally north of Pittsburgh on the eve of the Republican National Convention next week in Milwaukee, an assassination attempt on the former president. The video capturing the frantic moments. Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee for the White House, on stage in the midst of a heated election battle. He has posted tonight to social media that he was, quote, shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of his right ear, with the bullet, quote, ripping through the skin. No further confirmation on those injuries from the former president just yet. His campaign has said he is, quote, fine after being whisked off stage by Secret Service and getting checked out at a local medical facility. The Secret Service has put out a statement, reported that the suspected shooter fired multiple shots towards the stage from a, quote, elevated position outside the rally's venue. Agents then killed the gunman. One spectator, as you mentioned off the top, also killed in the chaos of the rally. 2 others in the audience to see the former president critically injured. President Biden spoke to the nation soon after.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this. We cannot condone this.
We heard
And in just the last few minutes, the Trump campaign says Trump will be in Milwaukee next week at the convention to receive the Republican Party's nomination. The Secretary of Homeland Security out tonight with a statement that the agency, the Homeland Security, is taking, quote, every possible measure to ensure security for the campaign ahead after the shooting tonight. Federal authorities confirming it is being investigated as an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, with the Secret Service taking the lead. This, of course, a developing story. We do not know anything about the gunmen or their motivation at this point. We, of course, will continue to track the latest out of Pennsylvania, Washington, D.C., and really across the entire country tonight as what happened reverberates from coast to coast. For now, live in the newsroom, Paul Bloom, Fox 9.
All right. Thank you, Paul. And especially as everything moves to Milwaukee for the RNC. Now, former President Trump has released a statement tonight as well, saying, quote, again, nothing is known at this time about the shooter, who is now dead. I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. I knew immediately that something was wrong and that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through my skin. He also thanked the Secret Service and all of law enforcement for their rapid response, and he extended his condolences to to the family of the spectator at the rally who was killed today.
And support for the former president continues across the country and here locally. In a statement this evening, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz said violence has no place in American politics, praying for the safety of the former president and everyone at his rally in Pennsylvania.
And Minnesota Congressman Tom Emmer also sending his support to Trump tonight. In a statement, he said, quote, Jackie and I are praying for President Trump and all of the attendees at today's rally. President Trump is a proven warrior who has overcome adversity time and time again. He will rise above the horrifying situation stronger than ever.
Ooh, there you have it, y'all. A lot of information in that. A lot of information shared. I know it was a lot of questions. It was a lot of talk and chatter about whether or not it was staged. Whether or not he was hit. At one point, I had heard, and again, I like to get facts. One thing that I like to do, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, is ensure that, and I would suggest that you do this, right? Ensure that you get the facts of whatever it is you're dealing with, because that is what is solid. That is what we have to deal with. That deals with something objective and not subjective. And it helps us keep a tight grasp on reality always. And so I say that to say, I don't really like to make an assessment or give a judgment of a thing before I have all of the facts, right? I might formulate, hey, this is what it appears to be, but that might not be what it is all the time, because there's always bits of information that we need to construct a factual, solid, and fortified perspective and analysis of whatever it is. But just going back, people were saying that it could be staged. People were saying that it was glass that hit Mr. Trump, and the glass ricocheted. And I didn't know. I had no idea. I just knew that I would look into it, and I knew I wanted to come here with you guys and look into it so that we could discover this together. And so, from what the news report, what we just saw and heard, was that he in fact was shot. He in fact was shot through his right ear. And two people, I didn't realize, or I didn't know, I wasn't informed that it was one person dead. I thought it was only two people, right? I thought only the I assumed, or I listened to people, that it was only one person killed, and that was the person that got shot, and then one other person died. That's what it was. The first reports was that the shooter was killed, right? And then the person who actually got hit with the bullet, because when the former president shifted his head a little bit, that actually saved his life, y'all. Because if he had kept his head in the trajectory where it was, it would have hit the back of his brain, and it would have blew the back of his head off, and he would have died instantly on national television. So, the news reported, the news broke it down. And also, one thing, you see that he was outside of almost their periphery of security, right? He was outside of their area. That's what you heard him say. Hey, he was in a place that was a little bit further out, and so that was a reason that he could get in that position. I would think that now security measures are going to be tightened. They will be checking places that are potential spots of vulnerability or potential threats. Now they will be covered thoroughly, right? And that was odd to me, though. That was really odd, because when a president comes, whenever I've been in a city where the president was due to show up and make an appearance, they would always shut off the blocks. I mean, like blocks for at least 4 or 5 blocks, at least a mile sometimes. They had tight knit security. So the fact that they didn't, take into account, hey, there are some places that could be potential vulnerabilities. They could be blind spots in our area of stability and security, was kind of odd to me. But now, That was something else. That was something else. Now we understand that before this, the main the main topic that people were discussing was the Project 2025, right? We heard people talking about Project 2025. People were discussing Agenda 47. That was one of the justifications that I heard where people were saying, hey, this takes away, this could be staged. It's a political trick, right? This is something that is being done, staged to now move the attention away from this issue of Project 2025, Agenda 47. Uh, and I remember, I remember saying to myself, "Damn, that's a hell of a way to get the attention onto something else." And I understand it, man. You know, when you're dealing with power, you create spectacles, right? One of the 48 laws of power, if you read that book by Robert Greene, he discusses create a spectacle. Court attention at all costs, I think, is the exact chapter and the exact concept and principle. So I understand that when you are in a position of power or you are trying to yield a position of power, absolutely, you know, you want to make sure that you can get that court that attention, almost make yourself look majestic, and almost make yourself look regal and elegant, and definitely strong. And I will say that, you know, if people, I can see how this is going to only uh, solidify Mr. Trump's image as being the all-American cavalier, right? Because if you heard it, if you were listening and you heard, if you're watching and you saw that he said, "Let me get my shoe, let me get my shoe," as they were trying to rush him off of the stage, and he came back out and he threw up a fist, right? I can remember being in some rooms. I can remember being in some conversations and people having issue, taking issue to him throwing up. You know, the for those of you who are not aware, in '68, John Carlos and Tommy Smith in Mexico City, they had won that track race and they were on the podium, right? And you saw when they began to play the national anthem, Tommy Smith raised up, or John Carlos, excuse me, raised up his right hand, I believe, and made the fist, and John Carlos raised up his left hand. Now, this is what that symbolizes. This is what that means. The right hand with the fist raised is black power. The left hand with the fist raised is black unity. So when Donald Trump raised that right fist, certain people wondered why. What message was he really trying to convey? In my mind, you know, symbols have different and they have multiple meanings, right? Yes, in the black community, in the black American community, that black fist, whenever you see a black person raise that black fist, that absolutely means black power, right? Or that's what it denotes, that's what it's historically denoted. Now, in the universal community, when you raise up a fist, that means resilient strength, right? That means having strength that is withstanding, that is resilient, that is uh, forthcoming and not backing down. And so when he did that, I said to myself, wow, even in the face of death, Mr. Trump still had enough showmanship. He still had enough entertainer in him to understand the audience that he was in front of. It's important to always know your audience. That's a part of being powerful. Understanding the audience, understanding exactly who you're talking to, who you're speaking with, so that you can know how to connect with them, especially on that emotional level. And so I think that the demographic of the crowd that was there, that right hand fist didn't necessarily mean black power, right? But it absolutely meant relenting power and relenting strength. And so I thought it was I thought it was very, uh, what did I say? I thought it was very convenient, if you will, or very, very entertaining of Mr. Trump, or very aware. He was very cognizant to do that. Now, I'm still daddying, y'all. It don't stop. Can't stop, won't stop being a daddy.
Thank you.
You're welcome, baby. So Yeah, she said thank you. so so yeah, you gotta open it, Pooh. You gotta open it. So yes, so that happened, right? And so, there were also other people who there was, and I'm gonna try to find it. There was a guy who described exactly what was happening. There was another person. We're talking about people alleging that it was staged, right? There was another person who uh, came out and said, "Hey, he was a doctor, and he talked about what he saw. He talked about how there was brain matter of the person who was actually hit. And I saw I'm gonna pull it up. He was a doctor. No, excuse me, he was an ex fire chief. That's who it was. Bald head cat. And my condolences to his family. Forgive me, y'all. But my condolences to his family. My condolences to really those people that were critically injured. This guy's family, because that's unfortunate and it's unnecessary, right? But yeah, he discussed, and I'm gonna let you guys uh, hear that. The guy discussed how, man, it was brain matter. This guy's brain matter. He had blood all over him. The guy that was talking. This was a doctor, if I remember correctly. He was a doctor, and he was saying, "Listen, it was people screaming. I was trying to help him, and it was just brain matter all splattered everywhere." And I was like, "Wow, that is that's crazy." That is absolutely crazy to see something like that. That's very traumatic. That is uber traumatic for you to see. You go to a political function and you leave in a frenzy and in a panic. But yeah, so um, I'm gonna pull that up. But when I saw that, I was like, "Whoa, this is that doesn't sound staged to me." And then, you know, I think it was Amanda Seals. You had people on the other side who were saying, "Yeah, it was staged." I think Amanda Seals mentioned it being staged. Eddie Griffin talked about it being staged, and so that is unfortunate. But when I saw the blood, when I saw these people discussing this and what they saw and how tragic it was, I said, "Yeah, this could not have been staged because that's nothing to play with." Uh, People's life being taken in the way that it was taken. Yeah, that's nothing that you really want that you really want to play about. But you know, it being something that people this assassination attempt, the fact that people would think that a person would go to such a length to take the the spotlight off of something that was alleged against them, that's something else. That is very that's that's a tall order, because I understand it and I almost expect it. If you've been an adult long enough to be aware of how political seasons go and everything that happens, then you already know that it's going to be a whole lot of slandering. It's going to be a whole lot of distortion. It's going to be on both sides. Everybody does it. Everybody involves themselves, right? Because most people don't really look at numbers. Most people don't look at agenda items. Most people are led with their emotions. They're not really looking through the lens of logic or reasoning and rationale. But this would be the first time. This would be uh, in my years on this earth, my small time on this earth. This would be the first time that uh, someone went to the extreme of saying, "Hey, I am going to now get the sympathy of the world by putting myself in real danger in real time." Here it is. I just pulled it up. So yeah, I can't see a person doing it. I'm gonna pull this. This is on X. I'll pull it up on X so you guys can hear this gentleman talk about what he experienced, and I'm gonna show you guys. You guys will be able to hear it on the base on fan base, and you guys will be able to see it if you're watching it. Hopefully, you guys are watching it. So let me share this so that we can get the eyewitness account, so that you can understand. Like, wow, this is something else. I'm gonna read some comments too after this. After I share this video. So here we go. Here we go. This is a witness that's covered in blood, reveals that he tried to stop the bleeding of one of the victims who was shot in the head at the Pennsylvania rally, as he shares what he saw during the intense scene right after the assassination attempt on Donald Trump. So this is his account of it.
The barrier and put my hand on the guy's head that was excuse me.
Who was it? Do you know?
It's a stranger.
This is not Trump, though. This is another person.
Yeah. So Trump's not here.
And it was, you said he got hit on his head?
Yeah.
Were you in the vicinity where Trump was?
I was on the side. I was with a special guest.
Are you okay?
I'm Rico Elmore, but I just military reactions.
Yeah.
All we know is shots were fired, and then I jumped over the barrier and put my hand on the guy's head that was excuse me.
Who was it? Do you know?
It's a stranger.
This is
Yeah, that was a guy who was talking about the guy who was actually hit. He was actually that's where the bullet landed that missed Trump. I also saw a diagram, right, where it showed, Trump's brain in the halves. They had split it up, and it was something else, man. Again, if he had not turned his head, it hit the top of his ear. Again, I thought it was glass, or what I saw was that it was glass. If he had not shifted his ear or his head, it would have went right through his brain. And unfortunately, it hit somebody. It hit a person. He was an ex-fire chief, is what I saw. And so, yeah, I'm gonna play one more testimonial, one more eyewitness account from people that were there and what they were saying about the shooter and how people were reacting and responding at the assassination attempt. This is another eyewitness, another account of it. It says a Trump rally attendee who sat behind Donald Trump when the shooter tried to assassinate Donald Trump says he saw a man take a gunshot to the head and also saw a woman get shot in the forearm and hand. Because remember now, it was 3 shots. Y'all remember it was 3 shots that went off, right?
I'm here behind.
So yeah. So here we go.
I'm here with Joseph Mine. He was sitting actually behind Donald Trump in the bleachers today when this all unfolded. I'm going to let him share exactly what he saw. It was a very harrowing moment that he was there for. Can you please tell us what happened, Joseph?
Yeah, it was the Trump. I was attending the rally. It seemed initially like firecrackers went off. It was very confusing initially because I knew it was gunfire, but I couldn't quite tell where it was coming from. It sounded like it was coming from behind the bleachers, and the man in the bleachers, kind of to the right of me in the bleachers, took a gunshot wound to the head. Was killed, and another woman. I don't know exactly where she was in the bleachers. I think she was either behind me or to the right of me. She got around she got hit in the forearm and hand. It looked like, but if she was wounded, she wasn't killed.
Can I ask you how you're feeling? Obviously, you just witnessed something terrible happen. A lot of chaos was in the room. How exactly are you feeling right now, Joseph?
It's something you don't expect. It's a bullet out of the blue, so it's very shocking. It's just, I think a lot of people in the crowd just thought it was fireworks going off. I knew immediately it was gunshots. I knew they were close. And then when I saw someone get hit and go down, that's when I knew it was probably serious. it was a lot of confusion. It's just massive confusion, throughout the event. I saw Donald Trump get hit. It looked like he was either, I was running my camera at the time, but it looked like he was just turning his head to the side. And it looked like he got grazed in the right ear with a bullet. I kind of saw that go on, and then I looked down, I saw that the man, had died in the bleachers. It was just complete pandemonium. Like there was a bit of a delay, like there was a lot of confusion, but immediately, it seemed like more gunfire erupted. I couldn't figure out where that was coming from. And then, there was a state policeman there, I believe a SWAT team, showed up relatively quickly. They jumped the side. There was a fence, it was next to the bleachers. They jumped the bleachers and started clearing the bleachers. And then I helped carry the body of the man down out of the bleachers, and they took him to a tent behind the bleachers. We put a towel over his head, but he's deceased.
You were telling me before when we were chatting briefly that you never had a chance to make it to a Trump rally, that this was your first time. Yes. Would you feel safe coming back to another Trump rally?
Yeah, it's a very random event that happens. I feel safe generally where I go in the country. I think the problem is we have everyone seems very angry, and it makes you kind of, I'll go to a Trump rally again, but I'll think twice. You definitely want to have your head on the swivel. It just seems like there's a lot of angry people out there, and I'm not shocked that this happened. I'm shocked that I was sitting there and it happened next to me. Obviously, you never anticipate that to happen, but it's just horrible. We shouldn't be at a level of political discourse in this country where this is going on. It feels like it's 1960 again. It's horrible.
Can you describe for me, Joseph, what happened after you saw the shots? And I was there as well. Secret Service was screaming for everyone to get down. They quickly tried to clear the area. I'm just curious what that process was like for you in the aftermath.
Very confusing. Like I said, I think everyone who was in the bleachers knew. It was initially confusing when the gunshots erupted. I think the crowd thought it was fireworks. I think someone thought they were playing a joke. And, if the people were close to the people that got injured and killed, you obviously knew it wasn't a joke. And it seemed like there was a push-pull in the crowd. And that is, one half of the crowd on the far end of the rally thought it was some type of weird joke. The other half of the crowd knew it wasn't, was trying to push or impress upon the rest of the crowd that this is serious. And I think everyone got the idea very quickly that it was a dangerous situation, and everyone just started hitting the deck. And, kudos to the Secret Service. Again, when you're in these situations, a second feels like it's an hour, but it seemed like authorities were there very quickly. It just seemed to me, like I said, I was sitting there, it seemed like the rounds came from behind, and they got this, they hit the gentleman in the head. He got a gunshot wound to the head, and the other lady was injured. And then I saw President Trump, get hit, and it looked like his right ear. But it seemed initially everyone was like half the crowd was in shock, and the other half thought it was some type of weird joke. And it took a bit for everyone to get a good understanding of what was going on. So.
You mentioned that you had spoken with the person who ended up falling, I believe you said, or he was with his whole family?
No, his family watched it happen. So they were in the bleachers when he got hit and he went down. I think they were trying to figure out what was going on. They were screaming for help. The body they put a towel over the man's head. The body was removed from the bleachers. Then the police came back, right after and tried to move the family, but they were all in shock. They weren't processing what was going on. The man was he was dead the minute he was hit. It was something that reminded me of the Zapruder film from Kennedy. It was his head snapped, and that was it. And I caught it out of the corner of my eye, and then there was just pandemonium.
Woo. So, yeah, another eyewitness who was describing the aftermath. Well, not even the aftermath. He was describing what was going on during, right? What was happening. And again, man, condolences to the fire chief, the ex-fire chief that was shot. And again, he said that it was a woman who was shot in the hand and the forearm. So those shots, I would imagine that it was people who were in that line, right? Were in Trump's line right behind him, and so that's where the shots ended up landing. Welcome, you guys. Let me just reset, man. My name is Brother Faheem, and I am the maker, the owner, and the sole controller of the Leave of Logic podcast. I We are talking about the shots heard around the world, the Trump assassination attempt, and its impact on this political campaign season, uh, and a little bit of the narratives that we are hearing, or at least that are going on, the commentary that people are having surrounding the event. Real quick, if you are on Facebook or YouTube, I appreciate you guys. Share out the link, repost it. If you're on fan base, I appreciate y'all coming. Grab others if you can. I know fan base works a little bit different than the other apps right now, but I appreciate you guys, all of y'all. Millie, Joyce, everybody that's Kojo Hard Wall, everybody that's I can see listening. Thank you. We have comments on YouTube. JJ Plays says, "Hi, what's happening? What is happening to Donald Trump?" Man, Donald Trump was it was an attempt on his life. Yeah, he was. They tried to assassinate him on national television at a rally in Pennsylvania. Hey, how is Roma? How is Roma? He's doing well. My son is doing excellent. Do you have merchandise? That is an excellent question. I do, and I'll put it everywhere. Uh, in the base, and also in the comments. But I'll say it right to the people listening. It's leadwithlogic7.com. 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 And by the way, Lead with Logic stands for letting enlightenment and divinity win in this harsh level of God's infinite creation. So yes, thank you. Thank you for those questions. I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you being here with me. So I think that we've heard people who were actually there, eyewitnesses. We had the news report, what the news said, the actual occurrence was. We heard from a few eyewitnesses what they saw and experienced. And, if you're a person like myself, the first thing you do when something happens with anything in your life is look, listen, and observe, because that's going to help you uh, come to the truth, right? Woe to make a judgment in haste. You know what I mean? People, it seems that we live in a time where biases, emotions being triggered would justify people taking one side, taking one piece of information, one bit of information, and then building on that, which ultimately destroys, right? You either build or destroy, you add on or take away. So it would only cause you to take away from the truth. So you want to add on positivity and objective fact to whatever it is. So I like to look, listen, and observe, and that helps me in my quest for truth. Um, whatever it is that we think about these people who are politicians, hopefully we understand they're human beings, right? And that we wouldn't want either side to come to that extreme or that polarity of harm. Um, I was speaking about Project 2025 and Agenda 47 and how this is going to, or it could, in fact, pull. Well, it will. It would absolutely pull away from those issues and those talking points, those narratives, right? For probably a very long time, because we hadn't had a president try to be assassinated, and I don't know how long, but it's been a minute. But man, hopefully people are not that malicious or that evil where they say, hey, people deserve, or we want to see uh, our political uh, uh, counter, right, come to that kind of end, or have to experience something of that measure. You know, I'm under I'm under the act, or I'm under the belief, not even the belief. I know that I look at what you're doing, what your policies are, what your platform is, because I understand that whoever is chosen, they don't look like me, right? And even if they did, again, we have to then go back, or I have to then go back and look at what are they doing to benefit me and my community ultimately. Then I can branch out to my nation. I say that, and before I go forward, I'll say that local politics is something that we should all get involved in. If you don't know your alderman, if you don't know your sheriff, your prosecutor, if you don't know all of these people in your community, you might want to get familiar with them because they have a more eminent and uh, a deeper impact on your life uh, from a daily aspect, from local, right? For lack of a better term, from a local aspect, they're going to affect it. Now, absolutely, the national politics, they do play a part, but the local plays a bigger part, and you have more range, you have more control, now I won't say autonomy, but you absolutely have a little bit more involvement, engagement, and control, and you can make more impact. But with these national political fights, I'm not one who gets super deeply involved. And when I do, I want to see where you can show me how it is that you're going to affect my specific community, right? Particularly, how are you helping us? How are you helping us to advance ourselves? I think that from observing, right, from observing people, specifically my community, the Black community, the diaspora, right, not just Black Americans, but everybody, there would seem to be a misunderstanding about the job of the president, right? People, when we look at presidents, when we consider presidents like Bill Clinton, when we consider presidents like John F. Kennedy, oftentimes from what I hear, right, from the commentary or from the conversations that I hear, some people, they don't mention the policy, those platform items that would impact us, right? Even with Mr. Biden, um, you look at what they've done over the span. You look at everything that they have done. You look at what they've done now, and you also look at the span of their careers, right? It's almost like for my basketball heads, when people are inducted to the Hall of Fame, they don't look at just maybe the NBA. They look at college, they look at high school, look at all of that. And what I'm saying to you guys is this: we have to look at the whole body of work, from the policy items and the platforms that they have advocated and that they have stood on and that they have pushed out, because that's the true mark or the true legacy of these quote unquote leaders. Um, but I'm not sure that people, uh, that's how they engage, or that's how they understand a president. A president of anything, whether it's a corporation or uh, any organization, a college, a country, whatever. It's not necessarily a president's job to be in charge of different social issues with people. Absolutely, they can affect it because they have executive controls. They can make executive decisions about things. Absolutely. However, there are people in the chain of command. There are people in place that handle that job. The president primarily is to make sure that, hey, the finances of the corporation or the country, the economic infrastructure is positioned to help its citizens to now thrive. Everybody equally, understand, to open up opportunities so that now you can have an opportunity to open up a small business, because we are ensuring that our products, our import, everything, we're keeping it here. We're making sure that we are building and maintaining a solid foundation. Now, when something happens social, we have different positions for that. I remember when I was in the military, and I said this to someone: when I was in the military, if I got in trouble or if I had a problem with somebody that was higher up than me or even lateral to me, I didn't go right to my commander, because if I had went right to my commander, he would have been like, "Did you go to the first sergeant? Did you go to your NCOIC? Did you go to your OIC?" Well, no, sir. Well, then you need to go do that because that's what their job is. I can't really handle those small things like that because I have to handle the bigger things. I have to make sure that we we stay afloat in other areas. They'll handle it, and if it can't get handled by them after an eventual process, then it'll make it up to me. Then absolutely, then I'll get involved. But uh, that's something that people are set in place to do, and so yeah, I'm not sure if people interpret that. And that's important because a lot of times when these presidents are remembered, when these presidents are considered, uh, many times, oftentimes, we don't consider their legacy or how they've impacted the community uh, in ways, in those type of ways, meaning what their policies did and how they impacted, right? So I would just say, hey, get familiar with whoever the candidate is that you support or that you advocate. Whether you are a Democrat, whether you are a Republican, whether you are independent, whether you are with the what are these parties? They have like these different parties. Whether you are with the Tree Party, whatever it is, whoever you're with, I don't judge because it's not for me to judge. I always just ask if you are going to take an authoritative role or authoritative stance or posture in conversation with people. At least with me personally, I always respect when people can identify those policy and platform items that their candidate stands on that benefits them, right? And so yeah, whoever it is that you vote for whatever reason, is totally fine, because in America you have the right. That is your right. You are entitled to that right, and it's not for me to try to shame you from exercising your right. I would never do that. But if we are to have a conversation where we can learn, where we can be civil with one another, uh, it is always good when you can rationalize and uh, justify or explain. I should say, I won't say justify. I'll say explain what it is about that candidate that you support and why you support it. Because then I can say I might not agree with you, or I might not feel that way, but I can respect that you now have an explanation and you understand why it is that you follow that person. But you know, whenever I heard the minister say this, Minister Farrakhan, whenever you see a great man fall, don't laugh, learn. You know, I think it's important that whatever side of the aisle we align with, that we don't use this as an opportunity to expose the viciousness that's in our souls. Hopefully, we can understand that we are all human and we could still differ politically. You could still differ politically, but what has just happened is something very serious because the president was blessed, lucky, fortunate to come away with his life. But as we heard, one man was not. The bullet that was meant for the president actually was taken by an ex-fire chief, and now his family has to make arrangements to put him away. And also, a lady was harmed. She was shot in the forearm and the hand. So, man, you know, I'm just saying, hopefully, that we are not, regardless of how we feel, hopefully, we are uh, politically mature enough and humanely mature enough to say, hey, this was a national tragedy. I don't agree with him. I don't agree with or advocate his politics, but I do advocate for life and the freedom for people to uh, express their beliefs, run on their beliefs, whatever it is. Um, so yeah, and we will see how this turns out. If you were watching, the next rally is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and and Trump's people said he will be in attendance. So I'm anxious to see how they've modified the security measures. I'm gonna watch, if nothing else, just to see what measures, what modern and current measures that they are going to set up or set in place. so that they can ensure that this doesn't happen, because uh, the country is in such a place where uh, people are being violent, right? People still don't, in the words of Dr. King, people still don't know how to disagree without being violently disagreeable. That's an excellent way to put it. We should hopefully we'll learn how to be disagreeable without being hostile or violent. And so yeah, I really just I'm kind of late, you guys. I apologize for that. So I have you guys up a little bit later than I would like, but I wanted to get on here and go over this, and let the people see that this was something that actually happened. This is something that affected the nation in some sense, in a huge sense, actually, and how we can go forward and not be insensitive or even have any maliciousness due to our opposition or our non-supporter of the Republican and Donald Trump's political uh, platform or his political agendas. So, man, listen, I'm going to get out of here. Now, I think I'm gonna go live maybe again tomorrow, just because some I was told about a case. I remember hearing about it, and I really didn't take it super serious, because what I had heard about the individual that's on trial, it was kind of mixed, right? Young Thug's trial is going on here in Georgia, and uh, it seems to be somewhat of a spectacle, right? It seems to be somewhat, but it also seems to be a miscarriage of justice, right? Uh, and I remember when I was told about it, I was encouraged to look up the person and who it is, and kind of look up some of the specifics. And in doing that, I was like, oh wow, they are trying to railroad this young man. There are a lot of things that have happened in his trial that are very unethical and immoral, to say the least. And I saw today that the judge of that trial was removed, and I said, wow, that's good. That's very good. That is very, very good. Because that says that justice has the opportunity to emerge. I'll say this too, and before I get out of here, and I mentioned this with the OJ. I did an OJ bill. You can go back and watch when OJ passed. Um, I discussed his trial and his impact uh, on American culture and Black culture alike. But when OJ died, all of those old people begin to now reveal themselves. Something that I always say, you guys, is that I was taught when I was young was adversity not as much builds character. Adversity not as much builds character as much as it reveals character. So when things hit the fan, y'all, it's not that people are built up or trained, but you get to really see who people are. And so when OJ died, we got to see the nastiness and the viciousness uh, that is embedded in the American uh, in the psyche of a lot of Americans. And I thought to myself, wow. But I remember I had a video. I was trying to show a video. It was Willie D and a lawyer, a female lawyer from Houston. I forgot her name. She was a bright sister. But Willie D was questioning her. And he said, listen, I feel like a lot of these guys are overcharged. I feel like maybe, I'm not saying they're totally guilty or no, they're totally innocent, but I feel like they can be overcharged. And she said that's exactly what happens. She said, and I'm paraphrasing, the court of public opinion oftentimes has become such a critique, and they've been used as tools by the media and in the media to vilify these figures, that by the time they get to trial, it is almost impossible for them to receive a fair and just trial. And I thought about that because I'm not sure. In Georgia, the person that's on trial, he's known as doing a lot of things, but he's also uh he's balanced. I'll say that it's good and bad that people speak about him. He's absolutely good-hearted, big-hearted, and noble, but also he's also absolutely known as a person that you do not want to mess with or cross. But with that being said, in a court of law, it's still due process. He still deserves a fair and just trial. And as that lawyer told Willie D, oftentimes when they are vilified, they are overcharged. And from that, from the outside looking in, from what I discovered, from the new development of that judge being removed, it seems like they might be trying to overcharge Young Thug. They might be trying to railroad him for various reasons because some of the some of the things that have been going on in that trial have been outrageous, and it has nothing to do with justice emerging, or even on some level the Young Thug case, or his involvement in what they're trying to involve and pin on him. So that'll be something I'm gonna do a little bit of research and kind of try to bring you guys some information on. But um, listen, man, I always appreciate you guys. Thank you for you guys who are listening on Facebook, YouTube, fan base. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for you guys who are going to listen, because I'm gonna leave this on my YouTube page. You guys can go back and watch, go back and listen. Um, and I would like to say what Minister Malcolm X would always say. Uh, may we meet again, y'all, in the light of understanding. Hey, peace and love.